Okay, good evening, staff, members of council and general public. Welcome to our November 16th council meeting. I have a motion moved by Lyle Warden, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be it resolved that the council meeting of the Township of South Glengarry now be open at 7 p.m. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. If I can ask everyone to please stand for the playing of our national anthem. Ms. McDonald. Okay, thank you. I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that the council of the Township of South Glengarry approve the agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda, Madam Clerk?
Through you, sir, there's no additions, but we will be pulling from information only. Item 2, the resolution on the proposed changes to Municipal Elections Act, as well as item 3, same proposed changes to Municipal Election Act, Bill 218 opposition. As well, item 7, which is the letter requesting for a comprehensive study. Item 8, South Glengarry Holiday Shopping Event 2020. Item 10, the Fire Department Monthly Update. And item 14, the departmental update from Rec and Facilities. Also, we'll be removing from the agenda, as it needs to be revised, item 7C2, which is the committee of adjustment minutes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other additions?
You're
Is there any other additions from members of council? Not seeing none, so the motion would be as amended. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Not seeing none. I have a motion moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry, including the closed session held on November 2nd, 2020, be adopted as circulated. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Martin Lang. Be resolved that the minutes of the public meeting of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry held on November 2nd, 2020 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. I have a motion moved by Lyle Warden, second by Martin Lang. Be it resolved that the minutes of the special meeting of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry held on November 6, 2020 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Motion's carried. We have no presentations or delegations this evening. So I'll move right into staff reports. Create discretionary reserve funds. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe it was Deputy Mayor Warden who mentioned to keep modernization funds separate from our general reserve so they don't get lost. So I wanted to put it in front of council just so I could do it and the auditors would have proof of your request for me to do it. So what you see here is me requesting to move specific funds for modernization. And then I thought while we're doing it, we might as well use COVID-19 funds, have them separate too, because just to keep them separate from the general reserve so we don't lose them. They will then offset costs by coming in as a revenue to whichever department uses them. And otherwise, if you have questions, please let me know. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from members of council? Not seeing none. I have a motion moved by Councillor Jaworski, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that staff report 163-2020 be received and that the council of the corporation of the township of South Glengarry approve the creation of 2 new reserve funds, Modernization Reserve and COVID-19 Reserve Fund, and that the appropriate funds be allocated to the said reserves. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. And we'll move to the 2021 council meeting schedule. Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, before you tonight, you have the schedule proposed for next year. The schedule needs to be approved by council resolution. So if no objection, this is what we have in place. 1 meeting in January again. We expect the same conferences to interrupt, but just with the scheduling, it's easier to stick with the 3rd Monday in January.
I have a hard time hearing the clerk when she speaks. I'm just wondering if people in the public may be also having a hard time hearing her. Maybe speak closer to the mic. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. So the motion is based on just the meetings that are scheduled for 2021. If there's any members of council that have any conflict in respect of any of those dates, if not, the schedule is in the package in respect of when those meetings are. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that I feel that adding the 2nd meeting in July was very useful this year, and I'm glad to see that it's remaining. So yeah, I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Not seeing none. I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that staff report 166-2020 be received and that the council of the township of South Glengarry approves the recommended 2021 council meeting schedule. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. And the 2020 PSAB excluded expenses, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You don't have to say them one at a time. In the accounting world, they say just say PSAB. It's easier because
yes, I guess
PSAB does take a little while to say. This report comes before you every year, and it's just to show you the amortization of our assets. Municipalities are a cash-based budget, so we don't account for these like corporations do, but they need to be included as per Ontario Regulation 28409. So I guess on page number 22, that's the last one with opening balance, cost balance at year end. All that is your assets, what's amortizing. So amortization would be if you bought a house, you thought it was going to be a 40-year house before you needed to replace it and cost $400,000. Every year you'd amortize $10,000. So we use straight line depreciation for that. And then this is our estimated capital acquisition based on our budget. So it is fairly housekeeping item, but it needs to be included because of that regulation mentioned previously.
Okay. Any questions or comments from members of council? Pretty self-explanatory. I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be it resolved that staff report 167-2020 be received and that the council of the township of South Glengarry hereby adopts the PSAB excluded expense report for 2020. For the motion, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. And we'll go to the Cornwall electric LED streetlights conversion. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, and welcome to the members of staff and the public. The LED conversion in the Cornwall Electric service area has been discussed for the past number of months, and we have been negotiating with Cornwall Electric on the conversion of those existing streetlights to LED lighting. The infrastructure is currently owned by Cornwall Electric, and they have advised the township that they would be receptive to receiving a proposal to convert the lights in that service area. The number of lights is approximately 364. And in 2017, the contractor consultant that did the conversion of the Ontario hydro system had done the inventory of those lights, including the specifics about the wattages of each of those street lights. There are varying wattages in different areas. So we have the information to put together a new financial plan to convert those street lights, and the cost to convert like for like essentially in that area would be in the neighborhood of $290,000. The savings on the LED that are projected are 62% on energy costs, and that has been realized through the Ontario hydro area in that 2017 project. So we are comfortable with the speculated and assumes savings that we will receive. But currently, the municipality is paying about $197,000 per year for the operating costs for the streetlights. That, of course, is transferred to the property owners that benefit from those streetlights in those specific areas or local improvement. So there is a very strong business case to move forward with the LED project in the Cornwall Electric infrastructure area, service area. And this staff report is to seek council's direction to bring the proposal to Cornwall Electric for further discussions and negotiations, and look at having this project done sooner than later. So the next step would be to meet with Cornwall Electric and discuss the proposals and the engineering that has been done, and look at how we can work together to see this project move forward.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Deputy Mayor Warden, Councillor McDonnell, and Councillor Jaworski.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm glad to see this report on our desk. Obviously we need more details. I see like item number 12 says the township could consider exercising its right to purchase. I mean, if we're paying for those streetlights, in my opinion, they need to remain an asset of the municipality. And it says here we have to give a 5-year. There's a 5-year or whatever. Hopefully that can be waived if we do have to give them 5 years notice. If I read that incorrectly, I apologize, but I think this is a step forward.
Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, the CAO, Mr. Mills, and I have had this discussion, and the original agreement dating back to 1985 or 86 does have an out clause, if you will, that either party can give 5 years notice to move out of that agreement. And that is something that we would look at discussing with Cornwall Electric. As I mentioned earlier, the infrastructure is owned by Cornwall Electric, and we are looking at ways and means to convert that infrastructure to LED, and potentially that would involve assuming the infrastructure after we have made this investment.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I'm happy to see this report on the table. I've been, I guess, an advocate on this one. I just had a few questions for you. I'll just echo what the deputy mayor had to say. I'd like to see us as well take over the, have this at least as an asset in our balance sheets at the end of the day, seeing as we're paying for it. And the other question I had for you is, I guess, next steps from here. Are we going to tender this job, or will this be, I know when Cornwall, the city of Cornwall redid their lighting, it was a third-party contractor that did put the lights and install the infrastructure. Just wanted to know, are we bound to Cornwall Electric to have them install them? I would hope not, but.
Mr. McDonald.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the consulting firm that did the study in 2017 did do most of the legwork for the City of Cornwall, Cornwall Electric Infrastructure. So we have re-established our relationship with them. There would not be an RFP put out for the study because the work has already been completed. So the City of Cornwall is in fact currently working with the company called EarthCore, and they are having some lights converted in the city proper. So we would be continuing on, but EarthCore would be our agency that we would work through as far as having the lights converted. And in the 2017 project, they also looked after securing the contractor or contractors to make those conversions to do the actual physical work out on the field.
Subsequent, just to be clear, then it will be EarthCore taking care of the deciding who does the job or whatnot, what contractor does. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Mr. McDonald, for bringing this staff report forward. This is, like Councillor McDonnell said, this is something we've been looking forward to for some time. So it's great to see it finally on the agenda. Certainly, there are some more details to iron out, but definitely I think this is something we need to press forward on. And you know, this is, we know from experience, this will represent significant savings to the residents in that area in fairly short order. So I think definitely we need to move forward. And if there is an option to own the infrastructure, if we're the ones putting the money, investing and doing this work, definitely we should look at owning the infrastructure. Now, it's another benefit, it's more environmentally friendly, reducing our energy usage. And also I expect that the maintenance of these will be much less and more reliable. I know there's been a lot of concerns, complaints about the lights in that area, and now, you know, hopefully this moving to LED will make that lighting system much more reliable.
Okay, thank you. I do echo my colleagues around the table in regards to seeing, it's nice to see it around the table and finally getting something to the Glen Walter area after a number of years where Hydro agreed to have it done in the other areas of the municipality. So it's nice to see that our whole municipality will be done with LED lighting. So I do have a motion, excuse me, second, moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Martin Lang, be resolved that staff report 168-2020 be received and that the council direct administration to present the LED conversion project proposal to Cornwall Electric, and that an agreement to establish the terms and conditions for the project be developed and provided to council for consideration at a future meeting. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Next is the roads need study RFP number 22-2020. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. The Township issued a request for proposal for engineering services to complete a road needs study, an update from our last study that was done in 2016. It is recommended that these studies be done on a frequency of 3 to 5 years. So we are within that time frame, and council felt it was timely to have this study done. We had some discussions on our asset management plan during budget, and this is one of the tools that is essential for determining the priorities within our road system. We have about 390 kilometers of roadway that's in the municipality, and they've all been set up with identification numbers on section numbers, and all of those sections of roads are given a full analysis with an evaluation. I won't get through the scope of work in item 3, but it does show that it's a very comprehensive overview. And at the end of the process, you end up with an evaluation of the roads based on what is the now need, what is a 1 to 5 year need, what is a 5 to 10 year need, or 6 to 10 year need. And from there, then you can prioritize your capital program. And those priorities are not simply based on the surface condition. They're based on the drainage of the roadway. They're based on the traffic volumes of the roadway and the type of surface that's on that roadway. They're based on the geometric standards of the roadway. And if there are issues with horizontal and vertical curves that create some hazards on the roadway. So it gives us a full overview of the road system. just to put it in context, the 2016 road needs study, the full study is 678 pages long. So it is very thorough and very full of information. The current RFP closed on November 5th, and we had 2 submissions. We have put a fairly tight time frame on the completion of the work, and that would be to have the field work done pretty much as soon as the award is approved by council. And we had 2 submissions, one from the Greer Galloway Group and the other from the Golder Associates. It is probably worthy of note that the 2016 study cost $36,800, and the current proposal from the low bidder is $28,385. We've reviewed their proposal. The team of engineers and consultants that they have on the project are experienced, and they've had similar experience with these types of studies in Eastern Ontario. And the number of hours that they are committing to the project is in fact higher than the second bidder. So going through the full evaluation, they were not only the low bidder, but they were the highest scoring consultant out of the 2. So the recommendation is that we proceed with the award of the RFP so that we can work with the Greer Galloway Group in the next coming months to complete the road needs study, and we will have something. The time frame has the draft presentation to council in January. So this is we're going to hit the ground running on this one.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of council? Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Mr. McDonald. My question is, I was curious with the mapping product that comes out of this study. Is this going to be like a dynamic document that, you know, is integrated with GIS that might be useful, you know, for other things moving forward, similar to like the route optimization where you can make some dynamic changes? Or because the copy of the previous study that I saw was paper based. So I was just wondering if there's going to be a technology upgrade for this one.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. The study itself, the reports that are done are based on a fairly prescribed spreadsheet of attributes to road sections. So that part of it is relatively static. That part being said, though, the road sections are loaded onto our GIS system with the counties, and we're hoping maybe to provide some additional attributes in that, that not only is the road section there, but the particular attributes of that road can be pulled up in either a PDF or a reference to the municipal appraisal report. So as far as modifying the report, it's not typically something that has that functionality. It's a consultant's overview and their professional opinion on the state of your infrastructure. So that's not to say that we can't do it. It's just not something that we have done in the past.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? We have more questions or comments when the report comes back in sometime in January, but not seeing none. I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that staff report 169-2020 be received and that the council of the township of South Glengarry award RFP number 22-2020 for a roads need study to the Greer Galloway Group as per the submission of $28,385 plus HST, and furthermore that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign any relevant documents. Hear the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. And we'll move to the route optimization study public works facility tender. Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In October, the consultant that the township had procured to complete a route optimization study, KPMG, presented their findings to council, and there were questions at the council meeting that night of the consultant, and we followed up with them subsequent to that and have addressed those questions in regards to some prioritization in specific areas, particularly the Glen and Town Road. So the road optimization study has been completed. The draft was presented and there were no follow-up comments subsequent to the meeting in October. So I've been working with the consultant just to finalize the document, and it has been finalized and circulated to council through email just today, the final document, but it is essentially the same document that was presented in October. So this would be the completion of that exercise to look at the optimization of our winter plow routes from the airport road facility and deploying 7 of our plow units from airport road and 3 of our plow units from the North Lancaster Public Works facility. To maybe Councillor Jaworski's comment earlier, this is a dynamic modeling tool for us. And we will most certainly within this model have the functionality to play around with these routes in the future to see if priorities might change or if certain conditions change as far as the deployment of the resources. So the model that we will get from the consultant will allow us to make changes based on the observations and based on the experience that we have with our winter operations. And the ultimate goal is to continue to look towards finding the most efficient and effective means of providing a level of service to our township residents on our municipal roads. And to that, we would be receiving the report this evening, and the tender for the new facility would then be issued probably towards the end of this week. I will be meeting with the design team as we haven't met since June to just finalize everything, and the documents are ready to go. So we'll be putting that out and moving forward with this project.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Lang, then Councillor McDonnell, Councillor Jaworski, Mayor Warden, Deputy Mayor Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. McDonald, for this staff report. Looking forward to this. I think the sooner we can get moving on this. We've had the money sitting and waiting here to get done, and I'm hoping the construction costs haven't skyrocketed too much. And hopefully this comes back within what we've budgeted, and everything will go well. But thank you very much for getting this moving forward. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. McDonald, just to be clear, this is, I guess, a mix of both. This is the route optimization study as well as the public works tender that we're approving tonight. So if we accept one, we accept both, essentially. In this, is that what we're stating here?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Council has already approved the Airport Road Public Works facility that was done back in April. But the issuance of the tender, it was requested that administration hold off on issuing the tender until the road optimization was completed. So the only thing that you're doing tonight as per the resolution is receiving and filing the road optimization study. Administration was given clear direction by council earlier in the year with the public works facility.
Okay, subsequent, Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, no, I was just, I guess it was more or less a comment, I guess, that it was just, I guess, confusing the way it was put up there. It kind of leads you to believe that should you vote in favor of this, you're voting for going to tender, but I didn't realize we'd already really stated that. I thought we had to approve going to tender still yet, but I'm glad you could clear that up. And I guess we have to choose an option tonight, I guess, as far as what we're going to go with, or is that for a later date as well? Or just the option 1 and 2, A and B. Are we to choose one of those tonight, or I guess I don't see a slot for it to be put in.
The recommendation in the report is to deploy option 2, deploy routes from North Lancaster and Airport Road with optimization. That was a recommendation in the route optimization report. So that would be what administration would be following through with. That was the most efficient deployment of our resources.
Okay, nope.
So that part of it doesn't need to be approved by council. It's included in the report. By receiving the report, you are in essence providing direction to administration to move forward with those recommendations.
Okay, nope. Thank you. Just a little bit of clarification. Thank you.
So just to go on with that, the recommendation in the report then is option 2 with option B.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
And did we approve at a previous council meeting to go out to tender in regards to the Public Works facility once
That
this
is
report has
correct.
been completed, or I thought we.
No,
I
that
thought
was, sorry, Mr. Mayor, through you, we approved the issuance of the tender by a staff report and a resolution in April of 2020.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was not voted on. I thought we just kind of asked to hold it off until this was completed, but maybe I'm wrong.
That was my understanding as well, but
Do we know what resolution number that was or anything, or motion, or back in April? Because I thought we deferred it, I guess, until this was done, because that came from Councillor Jaworski in respect of she wanted this completed, and I believe Deputy Mayor Warden or Councillor McDonnell requested the same thing at the time, that we would do this prior of going out to tender. So I just want to make sure that we're following the policies correctly, that if we pass the tender in April, that's fine. I see Mr. McDonald keep waving his hand. I'm sure it's not just to say hi, so go ahead, Mr. McDonald.
Yes, I believe it was staff report 2020-43. So that was on April 6th.
And do you know what the staff report says, that we approve the tender?
I have just my notes from it where the county engineer reviewed documents because the salt storage shed is there, the garage should be there. Council voted in favor of placing it at Airport Road. We will issue the tender. We have a budget for 1.32 million and route optimization will be required. Those were my my notes that I shared.
Yes. As part of my research with the staff report, Mr. Mayor, I did follow up on the minutes of that meeting, and that resolution had passed.
Okay, I believe the clerk may have the motion in front of her, so I'll ask her if she does to read it.
The clerk's on mute.
Sorry, I hope you can hear me better now too. Be it resolved that staff report 43/2020 be received and that council directs administration to proceed with issuing the tender for a new public works facility to be located on Airport Road where the current winter material facility is located. It was carried.
does that not, I don't hear.
Deputy Mayor Warden. Sorry, Councilor.
No,
I
no,
believe in June, we asked this to be deferred until the optimization study was done. Yes, that was passed in April, but whenever Mr. McDonald presented us in June with the drawings and stuff, we all said, wait a second, let's finish the optimization route first. So we just got an email of the final report. I know it was presented and comments were asked to be received and whatnot, and then it was sent in our email today. I didn't even open that email today. So I think we're rushing this just a little bit. I personally understand that the recommendations are run the two sheds to the two buildings. I feel that Airport Road, one building with the routes, how they had them optimized, in my opinion, is a better situation. We have an older building that costs a lot more to heat. Was that taken into consideration? So I want to get this building built, but I'm just not ready to say that I want two buildings yet. And I feel like we should have a chance to at the next meeting, review what you sent us today in an email. That's just my take.
Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Jaworski if I can then.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I have to admit, I was also sort of unclear on the history of how we got to where we were today. I thought that there had been a deferral at some point, but one of the main question I had the question I have that I had earlier was I wanted to understand, my understanding is the design of the building was changed a bit based on some of the feedback you had given the last time we discussed it. And I wanted to understand the plans that are included in this staff report. How are they different from the previous one? So when I was looking at them, something didn't come out to me immediately. And I did have questions the last time about energy efficiency, about improving the maintenance, what was there to be able to do maintenance on the equipment in that facility as well, to ensure that was sufficient. So I wanted to know if you could comment on that, please. But I'll admit, like with what's been said before, my memory is a bit unclear exactly how we got to this point as well. I'm satisfied with the plan of having the two facilities because in terms of optimization, it seems to be the best option. But I'm more concerned about how does the design, has it changed from what we saw last?
Mr. McDonald?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. The comments that were recorded in June, we're taking back to the design team. I met with them along with representation from the administration of the township. And we did ask them to provide us some further details on energy efficiency, which is noted in item 10 of the staff report as to what energy efficiency measures are incorporated into the design. We looked at some of the other comments that were made by council, rapid open and closed doors, for example. It was deemed that that was an expense that was not warranted in this case because we don't open and close the doors through the winter frequently through the day. Typically the units go out when they head out on their system, and when they come back in, they're back in. And it's not a matter of opening and closing on a number of times through the day. The energy efficiency costs is certainly a relevant topic and discussion, but I'd like to remind council that our two garages right now cost us $25,000 a year for all of our energy costs, heat, hydro, and electricity. And this building will be a propane heated building, and we are looking at efficient propane furnaces and infrared tube heaters for radiant heat in the area of the garage. The other changes that were made to the design were that the office was relocated as per council's discussion, that the office is closer to the entrance of the building as opposed to in behind the boardroom / lunchroom. And maintenance activities on the floor of the building will take place in each of the maintenance of the bays. We have a pit in the design for vehicles that need to be looked at from underneath, but beyond that, most of the day-to-day maintenance will take place where the vehicle is parked, and they park nose to nose in the facility. So these considerations were brought and the changes were made to the design, and that is what we've brought back in the floor plan that was presented in the staff report. So that's, I guess, some explanation of some of the changes that were made.
I think I figured out where my confusion was in terms of the sequence of events. So, and maybe this is where you can clarify. So on the meeting of, was it May 19th, where you brought the public works facility plans brought forward, we had postponed receiving that report. So does that mean, am I missing a meeting between then and now where we accepted the facility plans, or is that today that we're accepting the facility plans?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps I was confused then when I brought council's comments on the floor plan and the facility design back to the engineer. I thought once we had made those changes, we would be good to go. And that's what I brought back today. The route optimization study, I realized the final draft was just emailed to council today, but there are no changes to the document you had in your hands a month ago. So if council wishes more time to review the floor plan, if they still have concerns, I guess that's something that we'll have to deal with, or perhaps my successor will have to deal with that.
I guess my question, Mr. McDonald, just for clarification, nothing has changed from the last time we've seen the drawings or the layout of the garage. Is that correct? Except maybe some of the heating sources. Is that?
Yeah, there's some detail there that wasn't available just on what the energy efficiency considerations are. Everything's LED, and as item 10 and item 11 state, that's the energy efficiency items.
But the official design of the building has not changed. Is that what you're saying? Except the office, you moved the office?
We moved the office. The rest of the building has been reviewed in great detail by staff, administration, and the professional engineers and architects that we've hired to provide us with a functional and efficient building. And that's what we feel we are bringing forward.
Okay, so my question again is, Is it the same building that council has approved back in June, I guess it was? Except moving the office and adding some efficiencies in regards to the heating system. Are we getting the same building that we approved in June? Do we have the drive-through bays, or where's the design? Do we have the design? Is it quick in hand where we can see it? I suppose not.
The floor plan I thought was attached to the staff report.
Floor plan is attached.
The floor plan is, yeah.
Yeah. And that shows the layout of the building. I caution by using the term, it's not really a drive-through bay. These are nose-to-nose
Right. Yes.
bays. So the intent is not to have them as drive-through bays. It's just an efficiency in the building. It provides us actually with more lighting, more air circulation during the summer months, better air quality. So
While you're not moving one truck to get the other either.
Yeah. We have addressed, I'm fairly confident we've addressed the concerns of council in the building and the functionality. The stockroom is sufficiently sized that should there be a requirement for some bulk storage for things such as DEF fluids in the future, that we can accommodate that. The stockroom is, I believe, 50 feet long by 24 feet wide. So we have made sure that we've built in sufficient capacity for future growth. And we also on this site have the ability for future expansion should the route optimization, and as we move forward, should there be a time in the future that we wish to centralize the operations. But at this point, the route optimization was recommending 7 routes out of Airport Road, 3 routes out of North Lancaster, which is pretty much the status quo of what we're doing now. And this is a new building that will provide the functionality and also the future ability to expand for additional capacity.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm still trying to get my head around this. I think my main confusion with this, I think, is the problem is when I look at the staff report, we're talking about the road optimization, and then the document attached is the floor plan to the garage. I think it should have been 2 resolutions here, because I'm looking through my notes and I can't seem to find where we accepted the floor plan. I'm not seeing where it's here, but I don't know, because I'm looking at it as, but for my personal thoughts, I'm not in full support of the garage anyways. So if it were just on the garage, I probably wouldn't vote on it, but I like the road study. So I'd vote for the road study. And I'm looking at Deputy Mayor Warden, and I think he's the opposite. But I'm trying to figure out, what are we voting on? Are we accepting the roads or the road optimization, or are we approving a garage? Like, I don't want to delay this anymore. If it's going to pass, it's going to pass. But it just seems like there's a lot of confusion here for no reason. But I don't remember approving the building itself. I thought we deferred it until we had the route optimization. So I thought there was a second motion that would have to be drafted for this to accept the floor plan and go to tender. That was my understanding. So that's why I'm confused as to why roads garage is even attached to this report. In my mind, it should have been 2 reports, but I could be wrong, unless there's minutes that say I'm wrong. I'm confused that way.
Okay, I'll go to Deputy Mayor Warden. He's had his hand up about 3 or 4 times, and I'll get Mr. McDonald's answer at that point. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor McDonnell is on the right track. My recollection, council was to approve the final drawings of this building, and that has not been presented to us because we had made some drafts. I personally would like to question, was in-floor radiant heating considered? Because I think that's a better heating source than those overhead infrared things. And I believe the energy efficiency on that type of a heating system potentially would be higher. And a question I have is, like, is this building designed that should in the future our needs grow, that it's not going to cost us a ton of money, that it's pre-engineered to add like an extension on if we need an extra further 2 bays? Those are a couple of the questions that I have. And I believe the roads optimization study should have been adopted, and then the garage in a separate in a separate thing. So thank you.
Okay, I'll go to Councillor Jaworski, then I'll have Mr. McDonald reply, and I have a comment at the end, please.
I just, it's a point of order. If we could ask the clerk to clarify, like the resolution that we postponed for this facility plans, May 19th was resolution 161/2020. Could she please verify what's the status on that resolution?
Yeah, the resolution was postponed, so it can be brought back as it was originally presented if council should wish, but as of now, it's basically was put aside.
What was it was deferred?
The resolution regarding the floor plan and the staff report that was presented, yes.
It was deferred until we redesigned the building in respect of what is here tonight, and we were supposed to pass it again.
I believe so, yes.
Somebody commented a while ago about a motion or resolution in June. Was there anything in regards to that, or was that?
I think that was bringing forward the route optimization study that was in June. So in May, the plans were presented and that was postponed because council wished to study the route optimization.
Okay. The motion I have on the table is only to receive and file the route optimization study. So just a question, if we approve that, is that saying in the same motion that you have the right to go ahead and tender for the building? Mr. McDonald?
It was my understanding, but apparently if council wishes to approve the floor plan, that would not be the case. The floor plan that you have in front of you this evening would have to be brought back and approved by council. This is not, with all due respect, not something that councils typically approve. The floor plans are developed by the professionals that we hire to put together a functional building. I believe we have dealt with all of the issues that council has, but obviously there's a lack of confidence in the design at this point, and we need to maybe just take a step back on that and bring it back forward for further discussion, I guess.
I don't think it's a lack of confidence. I think it's just a matter of this is a long-term facility that council needs to approve, and it's $1 million project. And I think council just wants to make sure that we're getting built what council is looking for, because again, it's a long-term facility, and council just wants to make sure that it is what they're asking for. So it's nothing to do in regards to not trusting or anything in respect to yourself or the designer that designed the building. Just council wants to see the final draft of the building if we can. So Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had forgotten about the fact that I guess we had deferred the floor plan. But having said that, I made quite a few comments on the floor plan at the time. I can remember what most of those were. And I have looked at the floor plan that we were presented, and the comments that I made have been addressed. I was quite concerned about the office location being around at the back, and that visitors would not be able to access the office easily without having looking for it, and that the roads manager wouldn't be able to kind of see what was going on in the yard. So that's been addressed. There was some question about size of doors. I guess it turned out to be a typo, and that had an address. To energy efficiency and so forth. I can't remember if there's anything else there, but I mean, I know this is a little bit of a controversial thing that we're a little hesitant on it, and we're not all, maybe on the same page with it. But at the same time, I think it's getting to be a little bit ridiculous how long we've been putting this off and how we keep beating around the bush, and we don't want to make this decision. So is there any reason that we cannot revisit the deferral that we made and to solve it tonight? I mean, we've all had lots of times to make comments on these floor plans. And if we haven't made comments between when we looked at it in June or July and now, then I don't think we're going to. So, I mean, those of us that did make comments, I think those have been addressed, or at least if we weren't addressed, the reason for why has been explained to us. So are we going to put this off another month? And then the other thing is, if we bring that back, if we bring the floor plan back, if it's able to do that tonight and pass it, because all it was deferred. The other item I would like to address is I would like to maybe put a date that we would like to see this. If the tender goes out, we'd like to have a date of completion. And I would like to see that date not too quick, because I want to make sure the companies have time to put it into their next year's plans, and that, you know, it could be done next summer. You know, maybe I'm thinking, you know, August, September type completion date. It gives them lots of time, and hopefully we can get a reasonable quote. Those are my thoughts. I don't know if that can all be done, but that's what I'm thinking at the moment.
I'll ask Mr. McDonald to answer that question. If he can't, I'll ask Madam Clerk if she can jump in regards to if we can dig up some previous information and come up with a motion for this evening. Mr.
Yeah,
McDonald?
thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I wouldn't be able to answer the procedural question on bringing back the motion that was deferred, but I can comment on the floor plan that was reviewed and discussed in June, and the changes that were made, as Councillor Lang has noted. To Deputy Mayor Warden's comments, we did discuss with the mechanical engineers the potential for radiant heat, in-floor radiant heat, and with the cost of that compared to the 70% infrared heating system that we're looking at, and with the overall energy consumption of the building, it wasn't felt that the premium that would be paid for radiant heat would be financially warranted. The building is designed in such a manner that it is a pre-engineered building that we can expand without having, we did have this discussion with the architects and the engineers, that the building can be expanded by simply building onto it. It won't require any modifications to the mechanical or the electrical system. This can be accommodated without complications in the future. So we have, I assure you, we have addressed the issues that council had with the building that were brought forward in June, and that floor plan is reflective of that that you have in your package this evening.
Okay, thank you. We're going to come to an end with this very shortly. I'll go to Deputy Mayor Warden and Councillor McDonnell, and then we have to start making decisions if we're going to move on or not.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McDonald, thank you very much for answering the questions. I guess the only issue that I have is the heating system. And I guess I would have appreciated allowing council to make the decision that the in-floor heating wasn't cost, because yeah, there may be more money up front to install that system, but energy efficient wise going into the future, there'd be a payback on that. So I guess maybe that was kind of one of the issues that I had in regards to council not making that decision. As for the design, I'm fine with the design, as Councillor Lang had stated. It was more on that heating system and the metrics as to why it wasn't integrated into the plans.
Mr. McDonald?
Yeah, just a brief answer to that. One of the things that we can do for items such as this, if council wishes to see what the cost would actually be, is we can build into the tender a provisional item. So we build the tender based on the design with the infrared tube heating, but we put a provisional item in there for radiant heating. And then when the tender comes back in, then council would have that opportunity to make that decision.
Okay, I have no issue with that. I guess maybe the other thing I was going to suggest, maybe we can even put in there or an alternative solution of what they would come up with in regards to what maybe a better heating system would be. Maybe either one of them is not the most efficient way of heating that building, and maybe they have different ideas or different thoughts. So I'm going to Councillor McDonnell, and then we're going to go to a vote or a decision in regards to if we're moving forward with the tender and the route optimization study or not. So Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not full in agreement with the building itself, but I mean, as far as the plans go, I am happy with the plans. The only question I had, and it was brought up by Councillor Lang in my notes anyways, I have Councillor Lang asking about a window in the office looking out, or is there a window looking, I see the office has been moved, but not to a wall to have an exterior window to see any vehicles coming in. If not, do we have has a camera system been added to that to have surround view to see what trucks are coming in or what trucks are leaving, etc. whenever the road super is in the office?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, we currently have a camera system in Williamstown. We would probably look at just redeploying it to the new facility, but we currently have a camera system that we have that would accommodate the ability to monitor what's happening in the yard.
Perfect, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, was the clerk able to decide, are we able to bring back that deferred motion this evening? If not, could we even push it to our special meeting in council on Friday to vote on it at that point? I think we've discussed this to.
Well, my question is, if we vote on the motion that we have this evening, that means we're receiving the route optimization study, plus it gives administration the power, I guess, to go out and tender for that building. Is that not correct, Mr. McDonald? Is that's the way I'm reading the staff report?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I might be missing a step that I think would be more comfortable for council, and that would be the deferred motion on the floor plan that be brought back forward so that we have approval through resolution on that, so that there's no question in the future.
Okay, so the motion we have on the table right now is just to receive and file the route optimization study, and
Correct.
the clerk write up another motion in regards to accepting the plans and moving forward with a tender in regards to the public works facility. Is that satisfactory to members of council if they're two different motions? Madam Clerk?
I was going to say that we could bring back the postponed motion and with an amendment as revised on the November 16th agenda for the plans. I can provide that to you, Mr. Mayor, in a second if you would like.
So are we not reading this one? Just,
do you want to do two though? You said
yes,
the second
two
motion.
separate.
We could bring back the postponed motion is what I'm saying, just with an amendment to recognize that you're approving what was revised for this evening's meeting. If that's what council would like.
but as long as it's two different motions, this motion is to accept or receive the route optimization study. We'll have a separate motion to go ahead and proceed with the tender for the public works facility, correct? So can I read
Actually,
this
it would
motion?
be to approve the floor plan, Mr. Mayor. The issuance of the tender, that was already approved, so it would be to approve the floor plan for the facility.
That's where the confusion is in regards to the tender.
Yes.
That was approved in April. Is that what we're saying?
The approval to go to tender was in April.
Right.
We are now receiving the route optimization. What was deferred was the approval of the floor plan.
Okay, so we'll have two separate motions. So this motion reads, moved by Martin Lang, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that staff report 170-2020 be received and that the council of the township of South Glengarry receive and file the route optimization study. The only concern I have in there is that staff report 170-2020 talks about both public works facility tender and route optimization study. I guess the tender is fine anyways. Now we're going to pass the second motion in regards to accepting the floor plan of the building. So all in favor of this motion? Did you have a question, Deputy Mayor Ward?
Yeah, so we're just, it doesn't read in the option 2B. That's what this council is voting on. It specifically should state that the optimization study, and we're going with option 2B. It's giving options right in number 2 of the staff report.
I can certainly add that to the motion now. So it'll just optimization study and include.
I have a question on that.
Go ahead.
I'm not putting that in, but this route optimization study, like, I don't want to lock ourselves into having to do 2B, because we might get partway through the winter and we have the ability to change this route optimization now that we have that software. Like, so I don't want to lock ourselves into it. Just the general intent of that was that it would be, the optimized route out of 2 garages, and that part I'm fine with, but we might want to play around with that a little bit. So I don't know if this would affect that or not.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. So we'll leave it out for now, if that's okay, Deputy Mayor Warden. Okay, so I'll read it again. So be it resolved that staff report 170-2020 be received and that the council of the township of South Glengarry receive and file the route optimization study. You heard the motion. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. We're just waiting for Mrs. McDonald to come up with the other motion. I'll read the motion and I'll need somebody to move and second. It says be resolved that staff report 68/2020 be received and that the council of the township of South Glengarry file this report and approves the floor plans as revised in staff report 170-2020. So 68/2020 is the one back in May, I believe it was, and then staff report 170-2020 is the one we just went through in regards to the optimization study. So if everybody's okay with that, I need somebody to move in second, please. Moved by Martin Lang, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Okay, so any questions or comments, Councillor Lang? Are you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I just wanted to add that I would like to do as it's kind of been suggested by Deputy Mayor, Mr. McDonald, that we put that option in there to look at the cost it would cost to put radiant heating floor. I think that's a good idea. It gives us a little more options when it comes back in. And just to reiterate, I wondered what the rest of council is thinking on for the date to have this complete, like what kind of a closing date or completion date we put in this, what everybody else is thinking. Thanks.
Mr. McDonald?
In discussions with the, through you, Mr. Mayor, in discussions with the architects and engineers and looking at construction timeframes and ensuring that we get the best value, we would be looking at recommending that the building be built prior to next winter season. So probably a completion date of August or September was what we were thinking of. Not to push it that we're going to be paying a premium to have it done by June. We can ensure that we provide sufficient time to have some competitive interest in the building, and that we look at a September 30th potentially as a completion date, occupancy date of 2021.
Okay, so when is this tender going out and when do we expect the tender back?
I would be just revisiting the tender, probably issuing it by the end of this week or early next week, likely coming back in mid-December, very early January for an award, and then we would move forward from there. Probably
Okay.
January for the award.
Thank you. Councillor McDonnell, then Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess I would suggest a late completion date. I think the bulk of the work, they should be able to be done this, and if we could be getting the keys to it by October would be nice. I don't want to rush them because there's no sense. There's a lot of these companies have already got their capital projects, I'm sure, booked. So just my personal opinion.
Okay, maybe we can have a couple of dates in there, Mr. McDonald, and they come back with their options in regards to when they believe they can finish it. Going by what Councillor Lang was saying in regards to the efficiencies with the heating system, I think we can trust Mr. McDonald to put that in the tender documents, and if it comes back and we're not satisfied with what's in the tender at that point in time, we can make changes and go back to tender again if we have to. But I think we can leave that out of the motion and just make sure that it's the tender documents. So I'll go to Deputy Mayor Warden, then Councillor Jaworski, and then we'll go to a vote.
Yep. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Was there any thoughts on tying this tender with the rehabilitation of the garage in Williamstown? It was my thoughts is do you think there's any possibility of getting a better price by doing both the projects? It's just a question in general.
Mr. McDonald?
Yeah, Chief Robertson and I did discuss that. We feel that there's probably an ability to do some of the work in the Williamstown garage over this coming winter months to start doing some of the renovations and not necessarily put that into a complete one tender package. So we feel it would be more efficient to keep the project separate so that we have some flexibility, particularly with the Williamstown building on perhaps hiring our own subcontractors to do certain components of the work as opposed to putting them in a full tender.
Okay, that's great. We'd like to hear using local contractors that we have locally, so that's great to hear. Thank you. Councillor Jaworski, and then we'll go to a vote.
Yeah, no, great question, Deputy Mayor Warden, and thank you. I'm very happy to hear your answer, Mr. McDonald, on that. Trying to do being our own general contractor as much as we can to keep the costs down. I think that is great. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if you remember the motion or do you want me to read it again? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Thank you. The motion was basically to reapprove what we deferred back in May in regards to going ahead to tender in regards to the Public Works Facility tender. So, okay, the motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. We'll go to number 7, to adopt an interim control bylaw to prohibit cannabis cultivation, production, and processing. Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at our November 2nd council meeting, I brought a staff report before council explaining what an interim control bylaw is, how it would benefit the municipality in terms of allowing administration time to research the locations and the zones that would best suit this type of use. And so council agreed and directed me to prepare the bylaw. In the attached to the staff report is the draft, or excuse me, is the bylaw for first, second, and third reading. And you'll see in the bylaw that it's proposed to be in effect for 1 year. And that will provide time to do the research. And if it's done sooner than the 1 year, that's fine. We'll move forward and repeal the bylaw. If it takes the 1 year, if we need additional time, we can always extend it by 1 year as well. But the goal of the bylaw simply is to prohibit these types of uses until such time the study is completed to determine the best zones and locations and setback distances to be able to accommodate cannabis cultivation and production and processing facilities. So I don't think there's anything further to add, as we had quite a bit of review time and discussion last time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Again, any questions or comments from members of council? We did go through this before, so this is just to put everything on hold until Mrs. Haley has the opportunity to come up with a full report. Not seeing none, I have a motion moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Martin Lang. Excuse me. Be it resolved that staff report 171-20 be received and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry adopt bylaw 77-20, being a bylaw to establish an interim control bylaw to prohibit cannabis cultivation, production, and processing throughout the Township of South Glengarry. This bylaw shall come into force and take effect for a period of 1 year from the date of passing, be read a first, second, third time, passed, signed, and sealed the 16th day of November 2020. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mrs. Haley. We look forward to a future report.
Thank you.
And number 8 is the Shrek Seal zoning bylaw amendment.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I would like to declare a conflict of interest on this one. Just the applicants are selling their property with the brokerage that I'm employed with, so I'll step away for this staff report.
Okay, if you could fill out a form if you have one sent to you, and then, or Mrs. McDonald could send you one in the morning and have that signed if you would, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this property is located in part of lots 18 and 19 on the south side of County Road 19, known as South Branch Road, in the former township of Charlottenburg. It recently has gone through a severance process whereby the retained lands are required to be rezoned to prohibit residential construction, and in this case, as well as to reduce the minimum lot area. Throughout the public process, we had no participation from the public. No positive or negative comments were received. And because this application conforms to the provincial policy statement and the official plan, I'm recommending to council that it be approved.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? We went through this process before. Not seeing none. I have a motion. Oh, it's moved by Lyle, so I'll take that out. Motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that staff report 172-2020 be received and bylaw 78-2020, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 38-09, the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the Township of South Glengarry and for the property legally described as part of lots 18 and 19, concession 2 in the geographic Township of Charlottenburg, now in the Township of South Glengarry, the County of Glengarry, be rezoned from agricultural and natural hazard to agricultural, exception 25, and natural hazard to reduce the minimum lot area from 20 hectares to 17.93 hectares, and to prohibit residential construction be read a first, second, third time, passed, signed, and sealed the 16th day of November 2020. The Council of the Township of South Glengarry confirms that no public comments were received on this application. Therefore, there was no effect on the decision. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mrs. Haley. And we'll go to number 9, the electronic building permit application process.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to take this one.
Ms. Mills.
Good evening, council. Through you, Mr. Mayor. With General Manager Haley, I'm going to bring a report to you on electronic building permit application processes. Over the past few years, the building department has received an increasing number of requests from home builders for the ability to apply for building permits electronically. This report in front of you will make that a reality with your approval. Something like electronic online permits and application process would have in past years been out of range for us in terms of cost, staffing requirements to get this in place. A number of large Ontario municipalities in recent years have done this. We've recently become aware of a new opportunity to consider cloud-based permitting system, meaning that the software is hosted, updated, and maintained by a service provider over the internet using best practices in the industry. So it would generally go as follows. Originally, it would originate from a link on our website, and the contractor or applicant creates a project and uploads the application forms and drawings. They can authorize designers to upload the drawings as well to the project directly. When it's complete, they direct the system to advise staff in the municipality that it's ready. When it's completed, the building department staff would log in and download the information and review the plan electronically as well. Not only is this important to us in terms of efficiencies and communicating with businesses and contractors, but it's during COVID times where we've come to recognize how important something like this is to the municipality. There are a number of benefits that are listed in the report, including printing costs for contractors and individuals, travel time, health and safety, inspecting and scheduling results electronically. Applicants can also monitor the progress of the application. Inspections are requested and results are posted on the system. The Township of South Stormont has recently implemented the program and what you see in front of you. So as we go along, I would anticipate that many municipalities would jump on board. So if there's a contractor that's working in the Township of South Stormont, is familiar with the program, they could also work with us in the Township of South Glengarry, and they can work between the two. So the preferred solution that fits best for us is Volta, a primary building permit application system that's used in Finland, where 250 municipalities are enrolled. When we first started looking at it as a municipality over a year ago, the city of Windsor was the first client. It might have been a few years ago, and now over 20 municipalities have come on board, including South Stormont. We've reviewed this, so General Manager Haley, along with our CBO and Assistant CBO, have met with the company, and based on the cost of this item and the limited number of competitive options, single source procurement is proposed and as allowed by our procurement policy. You see the total cost there on the impact on the budget would be initially through modernization funding with an annual subscription fee of $15,000 a year and an implementation fee of $5,000. There would be a slight increased cost for us as a municipality with printing, but again, we're servicing our contractors and our individual homeowners that are building. And us absorbing a little more of the cost on the printing and them not is definitely a good news item, I think. So it aligns well with our communicating well with the public, but also our service delivery. And it's 2020, it's time to move forward in terms of technology and providing things online. And we also feel that will improve customer service dramatically. There will be also some further adjustments for us here in terms of payment. So offering payment through credit card that we will be implementing as well. So this is all part of our moving towards 2020, 2030 electronic delivery of service. So we'd be happy to entertain any questions you have. And likely I will turn them over to General Manager Haley when you have them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mills. I think this is the right way to go. I've had the pleasure of filling out applications this year, and the time consuming to run to the office to bring in the applications on a regular basis was quite consuming in regards to timing. So if I could do that online, I think it would have been a lot faster and quicker of getting all that stuff done. The only topic I have or concern I have is regards to payment. I have no issue with credit card, but there is other options out there. I mean, e-transfers and so on. So I think we should look at more options where those individual contractors or individual builders, I guess, have the opportunity of paying in different ways. But if we can look at those options, I would appreciate that. And Mr. Councillor Lang had a comment or a question, if you would, please.
If I could just, through you, Mr. Mayor, while I mentioned credit cards, other options as well. So it would be e-commerce option, just not credit cards.
Thank you. Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Thank you, Mr. Mills, for the report. I'm in favor of this. I just, the way it's reading, it's an annual subscription. So I assume that that we are not locked in for too long. If there's an issue with this, we can get out after a year. We just would lose our implementation fee, I assume. It sounds like it's the way to go. So that was just my only question, that if there's something better comes along, whatever, are we yearly, we can get out after a year if we're not happy.
Mills.
I'm going to turn that one to General Manager Haley.
Thank you, Ms. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. In my recollection, I believe we were committing to a 5-year term. Does that ring a bell to you? But we could investigate that further in terms of the contracts that you were provided. And I apologize, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I believe it was a minimum of 5 years.
Usually in any contract we have that length, we would have an escape clause in there.
I'll have to confirm that.
Yes, I apologize for not knowing that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
So do we want to know that before passing this motion, Councillor Lang? Is that what you're asking? I just want to make sure that
not necessarily. It was just something that, as I was reading it, I was curious about whether we would be locked in, or I assume because it's an annual subscription that at the end of the year, if we didn't pay them again, we were out. But and I'm not. Maybe this is going to work out great. I think it will. I'm pretty optimistic on it, but it sounds new. If there's only 20 municipalities on board yet, and it's only been here a couple of years, so I just was wondering what our options were.
If council is concerned with that, I could take a few minutes to go back through the agreement, and we can just come back to the staff report if you'd like, and I could have that answer for you in a few minutes after my next staff report.
If it won't take two, yeah, because when we go into other business, there's a few things that we're going to be discussing there. So, okay, I'll just defer this one for a few minutes, and then we'll go on to the next one, number 10, which is 193-9133 Ontario Inc. zoning bylaw amendment. Mrs. Haley.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll just speak to this one fairly quickly. So this property is located on County Road 34 at the north end of our township on the east side of 34. We had a public meeting regarding this application, and you may recall that the proposed use is to go from rural to general commercial to accommodate a commercial development sometime in the future. There's no specific development that's been proposed at this time. At our public meeting held on October 19th, we had no members of the public that have spoke in opposition or in support of the proposed amendment. We did have support from the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry Transportation and Planning Services, and they had no concerns with the proposed development, the proposed property going to a commercial zone. And I recommend to council to approve it as it does conform to the official plan and the provincial policy statement. I think it's a great location to have a commercial ready property in this area when it's directly south of Alexandria and of course inside South Glengarry. So it'd be nice to see some development sometime in the future if possible. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of council? Not seeing none. I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Mark Lang. Be resolved that staff report 174-2020 be received and that the council adopt bylaw 76-2020, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 38-09, comprehensive zoning bylaw for the township of South Glengarry for the property legally described as part of lot 38, concession 9, located on the east side of County Road 34, the geographic township of Lancaster, now in the township of South Glengarry, the county of Glengarry, be rezoned from rural to general commercial to permit commercial development in the future. Be read a first, second, third time, passed, signed, and sealed the 16th day of November 2020. And the council of the township of South Glengarry confirms that no public comments were received on this application. Therefore, there was no effect on the decision. Heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Haley. We still give you a little bit of time for the other motion. That's fine.
Yes, please.
Okay, we're going to
Thank you.
committee reports. Actually, we're going to information for other business, sorry. So the information taken away from information purposes only. So number two is resolution proposed changes to the Municipal Election Act. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for letting me bring these, the two resolutions, 2 and 3. So the one that you just named, and then Bill 218 opposition from the town of Meaford. Both of them fundamentally deal with the fact that the province is suggesting that the option of ranked ballots in municipal elections is to be revoked. And, you know, I think that that's a step backwards for that option to be stripped away from municipalities. I think municipalities should be allowed to have the flexibility to run elections in the best way that they see for them. You know, for example, some elect at large, some elect by ward, some elect deputy mayor, some don't. And specifically when it comes to ranked ballot, you know, the City of London is already doing this, so they're proposing taking that away from them. And in 2018, I guess Kingston and Cambridge, they held referendums to move to ranked ballot, and their voters overwhelmingly, to my understanding, supported that change. And there's a number of municipalities looking at doing that, also moving towards ranked ballot. So I think I would like to support these resolutions about not taking away the option for municipalities to have ranked ballot if they so choose.
Okay, thank you. I do support that. So I will ask the staff to bring back a report or a motion to support both number 2 and number 3 at the next meeting of council, if that's fair. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Councillor Jaworski. So we'll move to, excuse me, number 7, letter request for a comprehensive study to change property designation. I believe Councillor Lang and Councillor McDonnell had that one, so I'm not sure who wants to lead. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think there's been some discussion about this. I know I've had multiple discussions with a few people on this request. I think we should go ahead. I just had one question, I guess, in regards to this for Ms. Haley. If we're going to go through this, from what I've gotten from you in our conversations, Ms. Haley, this is a comprehensive study and there is a lot of work involved in this, and it could be potentially fairly time consuming. Is there any other properties we would want to lump into this study at the same time, and what would be your best recommendation for moving forward with this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think what's best right now is for me to do the research to come back with a staff report, because I did have discussions with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We're very fortunate that the May 1st, 2020 provincial policy statement became a little more flexible, in my opinion, in dealing with employment areas in comparison to the 2014 provincial policy statement. And so with that, in speaking with the ministry, it looks like we can do a scoped review. I did have discussions with a consulting firm that had done the report prior to 2006 official plan approval. And they did an update in 2016. They did an update to 2016 report for our 2018 official plan approval. I did have a conversation or a conference call with them today, and I've asked them to look at a scoped area, and I've asked them to provide me a price by the end of next week if possible. So they're going to be doing some research as well. So I think we're heading more in a less costly direction if I'm right on what I'm interpreting. Also, we will be meeting with other planners throughout the township in December, early December. And I've asked for this item to be put on our agenda to kind of find out what the other municipalities are doing as well, to see if there's any needs. Quite honestly, if we can do it inexpensively and focus on the Lancaster or South Lancaster area, then I would go that route. If we do have to do a more wider study, then it would be important for us to work with the other municipalities to see if anybody else is interested in coming on board. So if you don't mind giving me that time to do that research, and then I'll be able to come back with much more concrete information to help you understand not only the cost, but the timing to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lang.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Yes, thank you, Ms. Haley. I would like to see that, and it almost sounded like you might be able to have that for December 7th. Don't know if you were committing to that, but you said early December. The 7th would be early December, but yes, if you could come back with us with a report of what this would cost, I think we need to really investigate this, and I think there'd be some really positive things that could be done for South Lancaster here. So I'm optimistic that we can make this go ahead and work through it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to also express my support for Ms. Haley to produce a staff report, and also to put it as high priority on as is possible to move it along, because I think there's an opportunity here to really provide more options in terms, and that would be beneficial to South Lancaster in particular. And so I think it makes a lot of sense for us, to look into this as best we can and as soon as we can.
So just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, I'm meeting with the other planners in early December. We're looking at meeting either the 8th, 9th, or 10th of December. So I may not have that for our December 7th council meeting. If I only receive a quote from the consulting firm by the end of next week, I may not have the time to reach all the other townships and have their answers in advance of that planning meeting. But I don't see why I can't have a staff report before council for December 21st.
I think that's fair. I think
that makes more, that's okay.
It is for me. Just to the fact, if you're going to be meeting with the other planners in regards to the same issue, I think we should have more input from the rest of them, so you can bring back a proper report, I guess, or more information report to members of council. So I'm fine with that. But I see some shaking yes, some unsure. Councillor McDonnell's okay. Councillor Jaworski's okay. So Councillor Lang and Mr. Deputy Mayor Warden's fine. Okay, so we'll wait for that. Hopefully for the 21st of December. Thank you. Number 8 is the South Glengarry Holiday Shopping Event 2020. Councillor Jaworski.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I read this project with interest, and I just wanted to be able to have the chance to hear more from staff to talk about this exciting initiative.
Okay, thank you. We have Shauna with us this evening. So welcome, Shauna, to our council meeting. You wanted to talk about it briefly, if you can, please. We'd appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's nice to see everyone. I'm very happy to be giving you an update on this new program that we have. Some of you maybe remember a couple of years ago, we had the South Glengarry Holiday Shopping Event where you were able to go to each business location and use a ballot, and to encourage that movement of shoppers and encourage people to come to South Glengarry to shop locally. So with the pandemic in mind, we wanted to do something very similar, but in a safe way. So this event allows us to continue that tradition of encouraging local shopping, encouraging the interaction with customers and giving that friendly vibe of South Glengarry to visitors. At the same time, following all of the health regulations and the safety guidelines. So each of the companies or the businesses that will be that are participating will each have 15 minutes in front of the hosts who are called the Wednesday Night Market, and they will be interviewing each individual business and so the business will have an opportunity to give a little bit of history about themselves, showcase some of their holiday products that they want to really focus on over the next few weeks, and then tell people, which is the most important part, how they can actually shop. So they don't have to do anything differently with what they're doing now, but if they have curbside pickup, they can encourage people to do curbside pickup. If they have a new e-commerce store, they can choose that way. If they have, the doors are open and they can shop inside, they can do that as well. So lots of opportunity for our local businesses. We've received tons of excellent feedback. There's over 600 people that are already registered online and they're interested in participating. And that's even before, the week before when we do our huge push to encourage people to come out. So all good news. And yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you. Councillor Jaworski.
No, thank you very much. I mean, you said it really well. I mean, we should always be supporting our local businesses, particularly at Christmas, but now more than ever, I think we really need to make that extra effort to support our local businesses in this very trying time. So thank you for this. This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Jaworski. We seem, I guess, always need to support our local businesses, but in a difficult time like this, we need to support them a lot stronger. And thank you to you, Shauna, and wherever else was involved to come up with a different option, I guess, in regards to supporting our business through the Christmas season. So thank you for that. Okay, so we'll move to number 10, Fire Department monthly update for October. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I was reading through the department updates for fire. Chief Robertson, mentions that there's thanks due to, I think it's Gators Metal Recycling and Kenny Upol, those locations, because they provided, a host for our volunteer firefighters to practice their vehicle extrication skills. So I just wanted to highlight that, we thank them for providing that venue to the township. Okay,
thank you. And department update on recreation facilities, Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you. So as I was reading through that report, I see that in the work plan, there's going to be a report on the summer grass cutting project, where there was a change in how we managed our grass cutting, and as well as a report on the facilities updates that has occurred, I guess, in 2020. So I just wanted to highlight that I'm really looking forward to those reports, and I do hope that there's an analysis of how that change of operating either benefited or didn't benefit, and I'm hoping that there'll be some commentary on the financial impact of that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for those reports.
I think Mr. Ladisser was going to say something, but I might be wrong.
Oh, my apologies, Mr. Ladisser, if you were going to make a comment. Sorry.
No, I'm looking forward to presenting all of the information based on facilities. And one of the things that I've shared with all of you is the success we had this past summer with many positive renovations and steps forward to improve our facilities. But yes, you're absolutely right. As far as the grass cutting, I'll have a report for you. And I'll also, in the future, have a synopsis of where we are with our facilities. And we're working very closely with the other managers as well to bring a comprehensive report on what we've been doing and how we've been doing. And I think everyone here will be very pleased.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thank you. We look forward to those future reports. Thank you. So Mrs. Haley is back with us. So we're going to go back to staff report 173-2020. Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To be very honest with you, I did not find it, but Crystal Byrne came to our rescue and emailed us the agreement, and it is for a 5-year term. And I read very quickly the term and termination component of the agreement. And there's always an ability to get out of an agreement, but it seems kind of tight. But from a positive perspective, and speaking to Councillor Lang, council may be aware a few years ago we had allocated $40,000 in the budget to purchase new building permit software. At that time, it was a big decision to make because there was very expensive softwares out there, and then there were very inexpensive softwares out there. There wasn't a lot of in between. We chose at that time to go to an inexpensive local software company that we're only committed to for a few years. And if I remember correctly, and Mr. Lachlan McDonald can confirm, I believe our annual fee is only $6,000. With purchasing this cloud permit software and implementing it for 2021 and using the existing software we have, it'll allow for overlap and it'll allow for training and implementation with the goal to terminate the other software that was the inexpensive one that's going to be allowing us to integrate everything, and it'll just provide better service. So I'm not concerned with a 5-year term because I think we need to have the software in place for more than a year anyway to get the customers on board and used to the technology. This company it appears to provide excellent customer service to the applicant that doesn't require staff's time to do so. So I think there's a lot of positive things. And we looked at this company a few years ago, as Mr. Mills said, but they weren't really ready, and they've come a long way. And we know of other municipalities such as South Stormont. I got to see a tutorial from them, and it appears that it's working very well. So I think we're all looking forward to this opportunity if council's willing to approve it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lane.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you, and thank you, Ms. Haley, for looking that up for me. That wasn't a deal breaker for me. It was something that I was curious about, and so I'm still in support of it. Would have been nice if we, had that out, but I don't think it's enough money that we need to worry about it. And I think we need to move forward with something along these lines. So I'm still in favor. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Haley, for this report. I think, it is not, it's not free, but I think it's a fairly reasonable investment considering, the overall, spend in that department to really, maximize our customer service and maximize the experience for the folks who, use that building permit process. So I think it's well worth it.
Okay. Thank you. So I do have a motion on the table moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that staff report 173-2020 regarding single source award for the purchasing of building permit software be received, and that the council authorize the single source award for the purpose and implementation of cloud permit building permit software to be funded from the modernization fund for 2021 at a cost of $20,000 and thereafter at an annual cost of $15,000. So you heard the motion. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mills and Mrs. Haley.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move to unfinished business report. Oh, sorry. I seem to skip this one quite a lot. I have a motion moved by Lyle Warren, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be resolved that the council of the Township of Supplementary accepts the items presented on the agenda as committee reports and for information purposes only. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, now we'll go to the unfinished business report. Mr. MacDonald, docks on township property.
The transfers and sales of those lands is progressing. I'm hoping to have them all completed by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. And fire protection funds?
Yeah, Chief Robertson and I are meeting with the property owners. We have to schedule one meeting yet. We're awaiting confirmation from the property owner, and we are working towards having agreements in place for the Middle Street pond, and also having some discussions on options for the Richmond Road pond.
Thank you. Mr. McDonald, I just want to go back to the docks on township property. Have we tried to organize a meeting with Stitson's?
Not at this point, no.
Because I thought there was going to be one more final opportunity to have that conversation with them to see what, especially have the conversation in respect to the dock, where that dock may go in the future and where it may not go. So if you can set that up and let me know when that would be, I'd be more than happy to join you for that meeting if we can. Okay, and municipal services from the city of Cornwall.
Yeah, the steering committee has been reviewing some numbers and options. We'll be looking at bringing forward some discussions with property owners.
Okay, he froze up on us. Okay, so while we're waiting for Mr. McDonald to return, I'll go to corporate services review of water rates and billing design. Mr. McDonald.
The internet's better in South Glengarry. That's just a fact. So review of water rates. No update. Survey is still open. And the water bill design, we moved. I had Vadim call me on Friday, actually, indicating they'd have something to me by the end of today or tomorrow. It's not, didn't receive it today, but that's encouraging. It went from their sales force to their development force. They assume it should be able to take under 8 hours. And my knowledge of Excel makes me think that those who are much more accomplished than I will be able to get a quick move on it. So we'll bring that bill prototype once we have it to council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jaworski, and then Deputy Mayor Warden.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. McDonald, I was curious how many people have responded to the survey so far?
I believe it's 52 or 56. I don't know. I didn't memorize offhand, but it's in that range.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Warden.
Councillor Jaworski asked. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I'm not sure if Mr. McDonald is coming back on. Well, the private roads development, I don't think that's still ongoing. I don't think there was a report or anything at this point in respect to that. Williamstown Garage Fire Hall, we know the answer to that one. And the last one was the LED streetlights for Walter. So we know what's happening with those 3 items at this point. So if he comes, there he is. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I answered the rest of the report for you.
Thank you.
I suggested private roads. We haven't done anything with that one yet.
Correct.
And Williamstown Garage Fire Hall, we know the outcome of that one, and the LED streetlights for Glen Walter.
Yeah, thank you. Apologies for the loss of connection.
Not your fault. The only comment made was everything is better in South Glengarry's internet services. So just for future. Okay, if there's nothing else at this time, I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry to convene to close session at 8:43 p.m. to discuss the following items under Section 239 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001. A meeting or part of a meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered is litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or a local board. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Council will stay on. Thank you very much, staff, and to the general public. Enjoy the rest of your week.